Hey everybody, Mike Liu here. I want to talk to you about one of my philosophies, one of my Adapt for Life philosophies, which is to be consistently correct. A lot of people talk about being consistent, and it's fine to be consistent, but if you're not consistently correct, it doesn't matter. Who cares if you're consistently wrong? And what I mean by that is, there's a lot of people have a belief system, and no matter how often it's pointed out to them that their beliefs are wrong, they just stay the course. I mean, that's not a sign of intelligence, and it's not a way for you to grow as a person. It is more important to be correct than it is to be consistent. And I'm not saying it's not important to be consistent, but it's important to be consistently correct. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand, because there is a difference between it. I listen to Andrew Wilkow a lot, and he talks about, being right and being consistently right. And he's absolutely right about that. When you're right, you're right. And it's okay to be consistent when you're right. But you have to have the ability to change and adapt. You have to be able to look at things and understand when you're making a mistake, when you're doing something the wrong way. People who don't do this often fall into a pit of constantly doing the same thing over and over again. And that does not allow you to grow. It allows you to either be stagnant or to actually digress as a person. We see this all the time when it comes to politics. We see this all the time. As a martial artist, I see this all the time. I had people come to me who'd been training for 10 years, and they come to me and they don't know what a jab is. They've never sparred. They have no concept of combat whatsoever, because they were consistently training wrong. I had arguments on Bruce Lee's grave about the difference between Jeet Kune Do and John Fan, and what struck me about the whole argument was the people were arguing on something that wasn't true, but they were consistent with their argument. I, of course, tore their argument apart, and at the end they saw that they were wrong. But the reality is, all of us, none of us are perfect. And true growth comes from understanding that we don't know everything. So for you just to be consistent is wrong. You have to think about being correctly consistent. As a martial artist, I learned a long time ago how to train. I know certain drills and things that work specifically for me. I also know things that I need to teach my students. Each student's differently. Each student I need to teach differently according to their own personal needs, their body structure, their experience, their mental and emotional capabilities. All that stuff kind of molds how I'm going to teach a person. Now, if I just had a consistent way of teaching people, that wouldn't go very, very, very good as a Jeet Kune Do instructor. So I have to be consistently correct in my teaching, which means I look at everyone individually. Well, you got to do the same thing with your belief system. Don't just do something because you've always done it. Make sure, even to this day, there are things that I've done for years that I all of a sudden say, I figured out a better way to do it. So, be consistent in your beliefs, in the sense of, I'm a Christian, so I'm consistent in that. I'm not going to all of a sudden become something else. I'm consistent in my beliefs in America. I'm consistent with a lot of things. I'm consistent with my love for my wife, for my family, etc. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to change the way I look at things and address certain things, because that's how you grow. You can't just be consistent to be consistent. You must be correctly consistent. And how you do that is by being functional. Going into another Adapt for Life philosophy, functional honor. And that basically means do the right thing the right way. If you combine those two things, where you're being correctly consistent and have functional honor, then that gives you a greater advantage in life, because now what you're doing is you're doing the right thing the right way, and your consistency is based on being correct. You know how much of an upper hand you would have on people in life if you thought like that constantly? If when you dealt with situations in your life, you were functional and you were correct in your decision making? It gives you strength to be correct. And don't just think that what you want is correct. What you want doesn't matter. What you think doesn't matter. All that matters is reality. The truth is what matters. In martial arts, like I said, you get this all the time. People who they got a black belt and they think they can fight. The fact of the matter is that they've never fought, they've never sparred, they've never had even seen close to a fight or a sparring match. And in their mind, they think they can fight because they got a black belt. Well, that's not functional, and that's being consistent with something that's not correct. And that's weak. That's very weak. It doesn't make you a strong person. Now, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but what I'm saying is that to be strong, to be correct, you must be functional. And to be functional, you must be correct. It's a circle. You have to look at life not for what you want, but for what it is. And if you want to change yourself, because remember, you can't change the world. You can only change yourself, your views, the way you look at things, the way you perceive yourself. That's all you can do. So my advice to anyone who's ever asked me this is be consistently correct and live your life with functional honor. Those two things will allow you to adapt, evolve, and prosper. And then there's nothing in this world you can't face head on. Look at me. I've got one arm, a jacked up neck, and that didn't stop me from becoming a certified Jeet Kune Do instructor with Paul Vunak and Dan Inosanto. Didn't stop me from becoming a member of the Martial Art Hall of Fame. Didn't stop me from being a bouncer, a bodyguard. Didn't stop me from doing anything I want to do in life. I just make sure that whatever I'm doing, I'm functional. I do it with honor. And when I make it consistent, it's correct. Otherwise, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I would be looking at myself through the eyes of my limitations. And like I've always said, don't let your limitations determine who you are. Don't let other people determine who you are. You and you alone determine who and what you are. So, my friends, be functional, be correct, and adapt.